Hello, everyone. This is Andre's Restart. I am joined by my good friend Brandon. How you doing, buddy?
Good, good, good. Very excited with the Switch, as everybody knows. Less than a month away. Let's go.
Yes. I don't know if this is center.
It's close enough.
It's not. It's
Yeah, it needs to
not.
be a little more to. Well, that works as well. I was gonna say the other way, but that also works.
Okay, but now I'm like all the way down here.
It is true. You're a little low now. Well, well, that should be good.
Hold on.
Oh,
It
we got
doesn't
the
feel right.
zooms.
It does not feel right. But I think I know why. There. That
There you go.
feels almost
Yeah,
correct.
that's pretty good.
Hold on.
You're perfectly centered in frame, I think. So,
Now it's worse. I made it worse.
yeah, I was thinking that.
I
To
made
be
it
honest.
worse.
It's a little worse.
Yikes. Now it's a lot worse. I should have stopped while I was ahead. I was fine.
Yeah,
It was okay.
it was in a good place
I was
before.
picky before, but now it's like
Oh,
so I kind of have this like jury rigged because I hold on. There we go.
there you go.
There we go. All right. That's maybe okay.
That's good.
Cool. Anyways, hello everyone. Tonight we are going to talk about Nintendo as we typically do. Is it moving? Did
It
it like
did.
just?
It did go
I
up.
think the camera fell actually.
Ah.
I think.
No, it's fine now though.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about Nintendo. We are less than, I believe, 29 days away from the launch of the Switch 2, June 5th. Today's a Tuesday. Console launches on a Thursday. I look at the calendar here. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, and that's 28 days, 29 days. Yeah, about. That's about right. So yes, we are very close. And what's interesting for
Oh yeah.
me, technically, let me double check, but last I checked, I still have my pre-order, and the expected arrival time of my Switch 2 is June 4th.
Ah.
Yeah.
Very good. Very nice.
Now, we'll see if it actually comes on June 4th, right? That remains to be seen, but that is what it tells me. Well, actually, I can't find the email anymore, so I don't know. Let's see. Yes, it says June 4th. Let me double check on Walmart.com. Hasn't been canceled yet, so that's good news. That is good news. Anyways, so we are approaching the launch of the Switch 2. Our excitement is gaining, and we're just going to kind of talk about the different things going on, going back and forth with all of you in the chat. So, with that said, for all of you in the chat, if you let me know how everything is looking and sounding, I would very much appreciate that. And we're just going to go through a variety of different things to discuss here. I was somewhat delayed because I was at the gym, and then by the time I got back, I was like, oh, but I want chicken nuggets. Oh, but Ruby's hungry and she can't eat the chicken nuggets, so she needs something else. And then I went live, and the camera was on the desk, and it's weird. But anyways, I see that Having Hope and Pokemon Fire let me know that everything looks and sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Owen 3000 asks me, seems a bit off topic, but how do you download footage for YouTube videos with stuff like Nintendo trailers and use them without getting copyrighted? I want to make my own videos. So Nintendo is not going to copyright you, strike you if you use footage from their trailers or their games. They're not going to do that. There was a time like 7-8 years ago that Nintendo had an ambassador program. Not to confuse it with the current ambassador program. It's weird, but
Yeah.
they would take a significant cut of the revenue from any video that had like Nintendo footage like 8 years ago.
Mhm.
That is no longer the case. They got rid of that system. Now there's no system like that. It's just it's basically it's fair use, right? If you're
Yeah.
creating a commentary video and you're using footage from one of their games, it's not going to get flagged or copyrighted or claimed in any way for the most part. There are sometimes, like say for probably the most common example would be a Pokemon trailer, because
Yes.
sometimes
Oh,
Pokemon will do their own thing. And so if there's like a cutscene or something from one of their commercials, occasionally they might claim it. Either way, regardless, under the fair use ruling, right? If you are creating something that's transformative commentary and you're using footage as B-roll, that's not stealing. That's fair use. You are in the right to use that. So if you ever do get flagged for just using like gameplay and you're like talking over it and offering your opinion and it's cut in different ways, that's not gonna that's fine. And if someone claims it, you can dispute it and you will probably win. So yeah, you can just use it. Nintendo footage. Now, how you go
yeah.
about downloading it, the footage, there's a variety of ways to do that. If you have a press kit, you could just download it directly. There are different apps online you can use to download videos you see on YouTube. You can screen capture it. You know, and if you're using someone else's footage, then obviously credit them, right?
Yeah.
But you know, with Nintendo, it's obvious it's coming from one of their games. You wouldn't really run into any trouble. Chris Lancer, thank you for letting me know that everything looks and sounds great. I appreciate you. And Owen, if you have any other questions that you could continue to ask, that's totally fine. OMG, it's Andres restart and Brandon replay. That's hilarious. That's actually not the worst idea ever, Brandon.
Brandon replay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Chris Thorndeck, my body is not ready for Switch 2. My body's Reggie.
I'm pretty ready. I've been ready. Been ready for a while. Been waiting for this thing for so long.
So, I'm still a little bit annoyed by the camera position, but now I feel like it's worse. I don't know. I should just stop. Anyways, a variety of things to discuss here. Let me point something out. A few things that are interesting. So, firstly, we got another creator's voice, and this one was about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I haven't seen it yet. It's been a busy day for me, but we are seeing reported that the Final Fantasy VII Remake creator's voice video hints the entire trilogy is coming to Switch 2. I think it's more than a hint. Like I saw.
I saw a quote that seemed like it was more of a confirmation, but I'm not sure.
Here, according to Stealth, once again, Naoki Hamaguchi reiterated that it's not just Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate coming to Switch 2. It's the Final Fantasy VII Remake series coming to Switch 2. Yeah, I mean, so actually, literally, a screenshot here from the creator thing. Let me show you. This is not a hint. This is objectively what is literally going to happen. Here he says, I hope players are looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII Remake series on Nintendo Switch 2. The series means more than just Integrate. There will be more, almost certainly the entire trilogy. So, yeah, it's happening.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I thought that would happen. I don't know why you would bring the first part of a remake that's essentially 3 parts of one game. That would be kind of strange. It's just part 1, that's it. It's like, why even bring that over? You're not gonna bring the other ones.
Yeah. It makes it seems like common sense, right? And it is. But you know, sometimes maybe the game will come out and things don't pan out, right? Like that's a possibility. True. But from this, we now know that the intent is that they will indeed, that they are indeed planning to bring the series over to Switch. So that's wonderful news. Very strong series on Switch 2, so that's exciting. Something else interesting that popped up. Apparently, the Tarnished edition for Elden Ring is going to have a little bit more content beyond just Shadow of the Erd Tree.
It is called Tarnished Edition for a reason. And apparently the other versions are going to get a Tarnished DLC pack they can buy.
So now, thanks to the From Software Games event, Spring 2025, held in Tokyo, 2 new character classes have been revealed. Knight of Ides and Heavy Knight. It is not known what kind of stats these will boast, but we'd guess that the latter will in particular will come with the quite hefty defensive capabilities. This is, I'm reading from Nintendo Life. So there's going to be 2 new classes in the game. All right, that is interesting. Like that, I wasn't gonna buy this, right? Because I already have Elden Ring on my PlayStation, and I have Shadow of the Erd Tree. Like, I played through Elden Ring and the DLC, but the fact that there are new classes in this Tarnished edition on Switch 2, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Fair, yeah, you could just buy the Tarnished DLC because it's not exclusive content. I'm not sure if it will be the same day, but I know it's confirmed that the DLC is coming to other platforms as well. So it's not like it will be only on Switch 2.
The new classes?
Yes. I'm yes. Let me
Yes, here it says other platforms will benefit from new content via the Tarnished Pack DLC, which presumably will launch alongside the Switch 2 version. Okay, so I don't have to buy the Switch 2 version, but it is interesting that they're adding that as well. So that's cool stuff. Like, nice.
It's very nice for, especially for people that don't have the game.
Now,
you don't have to buy the DLC separately. It just comes with the game.
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen the latest trailer for what may be the biggest game that's going to come out in a very long time. We could watch it now. It might be a Switch 2 game. I think there's a decent chance. Should we just play the trailer and watch it, and then I'll? Because this game is also based off Miami, right? So, like, I feel like I should have opinions on this. All right, so that's what we're gonna do.
It's not a very long trailer, so we can do that.
No, yeah, I think it's probably better I watch it on YouTube because I feel like Twitter compression is probably worse, right?
Yeah, Twitter compression is absolutely atrocious.
Okay, so Grand Theft Auto, as well as give me an opportunity to eat my chicken nuggets.
My cheeky nuggies.
All right, so we're going to watch the trailer for what may be a very big deal Switch 2 game or not. We don't know. I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto. I think I said that already, but in case I didn't. So,
in case it wasn't really obvious.
All right, you can see this?
Yeah.
All right, nothing's being cut off. It all looks fine. Okay. Is it lagging?
What you doing up?
Okay.
I'm just fixing some leaks. Seriously, dude, you got some time on your hands. I got some properties with paying.
It's kind of loud.
That's why you came by? Just go get me my checks. See you, Brian.
Better?
Love you, Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves Jason. Oh.
He is Jason.
Oh, they love Jason, and he's very rude. I drive there. Not there. That road. When I go to the beach. I don't live by this area. I've seen that area at night.
I'm here for
when we go to the out. Maybe.
This area?
I've never been in this area. No, I haven't been arrested in Miami yet.
I've seen you here before.
That's good.
Or any of that area, for that matter. Yet.
Me either.
It is a dream, though, of mine to get arrested.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's dream.
Hey.
Hey.
Whoa.
Hands above your head, now!
You, stay.
I didn't expect this to be a
You make me nervous.
So spicy.
Seems like a love
Trust me,
story.
this place is just the start.
It is.
Women.
As far as I can tell,
Anything
yeah.
that matters is who you
Kind of the
know
idea.
and what you got.
Gonna do this? We're doing it right.
I'd watch this movie.
Yo, D, this full effect.
Yeah, the story
They
for this
got
one
your
seems
name,
very intriguing.
address, they got everything.
Not that the other ones weren't.
Us
but-
cops, we gotta protect each other.
Jeez.
The character models in this game are insane.
We got it.
The way the animated is so good.
Yeah, this seems more like a movie than a game.
Well, I mean, this is the story mode.
Yeah. I've been there. I'm there.
This is also a trailer. A lot of game trailers are kind of like set up like movie trailers these days.
Hey.
Just for the record, I live in the suburbs. My life is normal. Ish.
You don't do any of this? None of this?
Not really.
Oh, how boring.
Oh, I go to the beach sometimes.
Oh, that's fun. I love the beach.
Sometimes I go out. Sometimes.
I'm like 2.5 hours from the beach, I think. So I don't go there too often.
Okay. Well, that was that trailer. Hey, look, there's a live.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the game looks good, you know, that's all like just story stuff.
Yeah, not a lot of gameplay has been actually shown. Just mostly just cutscenes and such.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the game's coming out May 26th, 2026, I think. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they'll show off some more gameplay, over the next year.
Actually, this is an interesting question. So, hope also, by the way, is my nugget eating too obnoxious? I can dial that back a little bit.
For me, it's not that bad.
For anyone in the chat,
Matt says.
if it's becoming a problem, let me know. I will dial back the nugget eating. I don't see anyone saying that the nugget eating is completely disgusting them, but I'll keep it in mind. Anyways, so chew louder, Jared Token. Okay, I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Oh, he wants some ASMR chicky nuggies.
Anyways, there was a talking point that sort of surfaced from the knowledge that Grand Theft Auto is coming out next year, and that's that Game of the Year up for grabs.
Yes.
Now, right now, I haven't played it yet. I want to very much.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it this week for sure. I know what you're talking about already.
Expedition 33, right?
Yes.
Like that.
I've been
that
hyped for
game
this
looks
ever
really
since they
good.
showed it off at the Game Awards.
Like to me, it's kind of like
just as good as I thought it was gonna be.
It's kind of like what a Monolith Soft game might look on Switch someday, you know?
Yeah. It's very Monolith soft coded from what I've heard. I've been purposely not looking at it too much beyond like the trailers and like a little bit of review because I know I'm gonna love it and I just want to play it and experience it. So
right. So that game, a lot of people are saying is like incredible. I'm looking forward to it as well.
It's one of the highest user reviews on Metacritic, period, I believe.
Where is it on Metacritic actually?
It's like a 96 for user review.
Okay, but user review is.
But I think it's higher for the I don't know. It's around there for the critic review. Let me just look. Instead of just talking out my butt here.
I have the answer.
Good. Let us know because my keyboard.
So
sucks.
Claire Obscure Expedition 33. The Metacritic score, based on 71 critical reviews, the PlayStation 5 version, which I guess is the most popular version, has a Metacritic Must Play award and a score of 92, which is very good. That is a very good score.
I think it's the highest score this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Still pretty early in the year, but
Sure.
yes, that is a fantastic score. That is the kind of score that would probably place it in the top 6. You know, it's definitely going to be a Game of the Year nomination, unless, you know, there's other games that blow it out of the water, which seems really unlikely, right? There might be a few,
Yeah.
but not so much that like it's not even in the top 6, you know? So definitely it's in that conversation for sure. And it's a unique RPG, right? Like, so I think it's going to stand out. And by the way, the user score, to your point, it's extremely high. The user score based on 8,876 user ratings is 9.7. Now, I don't really know what to make of the user score, right? Because the user score, like, there's so much. The thing about a user score, like, you know, you will have people who will review bomb games, right? For whatever reason, you know, like Hogwarts Legacy, for example, will get review bombed, and it has nothing to do with the game itself, but because of politics, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, that things can get swayed, and things can get swayed in opposite directions. Sometimes when you have games that are very respective series, to take Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, for example, right? And I know some people in the chat may feel a bit conflicted with what I'm about to say here, but I think it's the truth. The fact of the matter is Breath and Tears are a departure from the norm of the series, right? And so as a result, some of that audience that came to love Zelda before the big change will not like the new style. And so what will happen? That can negatively impact the user score, right? So there's just a lot of different factors with the user score. Metacritic score, you can also then argue, well, critics, they're, you know, there's always going to be like the, what you call it, the conspiracy theory on what critics have to say. But
some people think they're getting paid off.
I do think there is such a thing as a biased critic. Yes,
of course, everybody has bias.
Right? You do get those outlier reviews, right? But that's why we call them outliers. They are outliers. They are outside of the norm. And so, you know, that's taken into account most of the time. Anyways, I say all of this to say that I think the critical acclaim metascore is more important than the user score, in my opinion. But it's still worth noting that user score is obscenely high.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a user score that high.
I don't know.
There's a lot of reviews too. It's not like there's only a few reviews or something. There's a lot.
You know what? I'm curious. What is the Metroid Prime remastered user score? I think it's a 96 on Metacritic for the Metascore, right? The critical review score. Okay, I'm wrong. That was an older version.
I think that's the GameCube version, maybe.
Yeah, the Metroid Prime actually, I think it's the original's a 98. Anyways, the Tears of the Kingdom had a 96 Metascore. Metroid Prime Remastered also has a must-play Metacritic score, and its critical acclaim is a 94 out of 95 critics. So a larger sample of people in 2023 reviewed Prime Remastered compared to Expedition 33, and actually reviewed it higher. And so there's more opportunity for outliers there. So I would say, in that regard, Prime Remastered kind of reviewed well, right, compared to Expedition 33. However, the user score is good, but is not even close to Expedition 33. The user score, which is 1,485, is an 8.8. Very good user score, but we just said, Expedition 33 had over 8,000 at a 9.7, which is crazy. And I would say that's probably people like trying to review bomb, but like in the opposite direction for Expedition 33, because people want it. People want, like, I haven't played it yet, and I will, but I think the basic thing that people are trying to portray to everyone is that, hey, this is a really good game. You should play it. So definitely taking that into consideration. So I bring all this up to then ask everyone watching, right? I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Where it is, with Grand Theft Auto out of the way, have the doors now opened for Metroid Prime 4 to maybe win Game of the Year? Now, we were just talking about Metroid Prime Remastered, not Metroid Prime 4. We do not know how Prime 4 is going to review. We can make some guesses, though, right?
I was mentioning because my brother was texting me after GTA got delayed. He was like, "Oh, maybe I wonder what Nintendo game might win Game of the Year." And I was like, "I think Prime 4 has the best chance." Because I don't think, even if they
Actually,
announce something, I think whatever they announce won't be as a big of a Game of the Year contender as Prime 4 will be.
I'm rethinking this question. What Nintendo game has the best chance of winning Game of the Year at the Game Awards? What Nintendo games what Nintendo game has okay, I can't write. What Nintendo game has the best chance? Okay. And now for my answers I have yes and no, and my chicken nuggets are in the way.
Not the chicky nuggies.
I mean, there's really only 3 options that we know of. I don't think there's any chance Pokemon Legends EA is in that conversation. Unless someone begs to differ.
No.
I mean, I don't even know if Mario... I think Mario Kart... If there was ever a time for Mario Kart to be in that conversation, it would be now.
Yeah, but I also agree it probably wouldn't win Game of the Year. Just it's racing games don't really win Game of the Year. I don't see it winning.
Okay.
But,
here we go.
It could be nominated, perhaps.
Let's see what the poll has to say.
It could definitely win, like, Best Family Game.
Brandon, can you do me a favor and to read the poll for me? And the answers?
Yeah. Let me just go over the stream here quick.
Mhm.
All right. The poll says, what Nintendo game has the best chance of winning Game of the Year at TGAs? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, surprise game in the June Direct.
Yep.
I voted for Metroid Prime 4, but don't let that sway you. Vote for what you want or think is going to win.
I think if you believe the surprise game is going to be 3D Mario, then I can see why you might pick that slot, right?
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
Today I put out a video talking about Luigi's Mansion 4 and how I think Luigi's Mansion 4 might be a surprise game, and more reasons why I think it is, because I've been theorizing this for a few weeks already. And I also went into talking about, like, how this game could be like the ultimate showcase for Switch 2 from a graphics perspective, from a tech perspective, like the different things they could do with the gameplay. And we'll probably dive a little bit into that a little bit later. I think maybe even that game could perhaps be in the conversation, but if you want me to tell you like what I think has the best chance, it's Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, listen, if we get 3D Mario this year, then I can see I could maybe go in the direction of 3D Mario, right? Like if it's like if it's a Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey level game, conceivably that could review higher than Prime 4 Beyond, because maybe Prime 4 Beyond
for sure
is actually a little underwhelming compared to our expectations, right? And that's what's kind of crazier. Like if Metroid Prime 4 Beyond gets like a 94 on Metacritic, which would be stellar, right? That would not be a failure by any stretch. Could still go on to become the best-selling Metroid game by far. Could even still conceivably win Game of the Year if it's a 94 on Metacritic, right? That might still review worse than a 3D Mario game, and would still be worse than some prior Metroid releases, like the original Metroid Prime back in 2002.
Sure. I mean, Mario Odyssey was very close contender for Game of the Year in 2017. Just barely got, it beaten out by Breath of the Wild, obviously.
Both were 97s on Metacritic.
Yeah. So I could definitely see a 3D Mario winning Game of the Year if it does come out this year. But that just doesn't seem like what they're doing. So seems unlikely. I would like it, though. I would like a 3D Mario to win Game of the Year, because if it does come out next year, I just don't see anything beating GTA 6. I just don't know how you could. unless it's just GTA 6 ends up being really bad, which I don't understand how that would be possible.
I think there's a
It's
game
one
that
of the
could
most
beat
hyped
GTA.
games in the world.
There's a
What,
game that could beat
Minecraft
GTA.
2?
There's a game that could beat GTA. 3D Mario. You don't think 3D Mario can beat GTA? Oh, apparently Brandon does not think that 3D Mario could beat GTA. I think his mic or something died. Yeah.
Sorry, technical difficulties. What was your question?
Yeah, I had asked you if you think 3D Mario could beat GTA. I'm not saying that it will,
Mhm.
right? Is it within the realm of plausibility?
I mean, sure. I think it has a chance. I think if any game has a chance, 3D Mario is a big one for sure. If not, then maybe like if there was to be another 3D Zelda, I think that could have a chance. But it's also kind of like you're trying to beat a game that's basically the most hyped game almost ever. So, and at the type of, and I'm specifically talking about the Keeleys, obviously, right? The TGAs, the Game Awards, right? And there's a certain culture there where I do feel like they probably would go for something like GTA over something like 3D Mario, even if we may personally enjoy 3D Mario better, which, may be the case, may not be the case. We'll see. Obviously that's a subjective
I can
opinion.
pretty much guarantee that I will like Mario more than Grand Theft Auto.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree that you
But
will
that's-
like Mario more than Grand Theft. I probably think I will like
that's a
Mario
me
more
thing.
than Grand Theft Auto, but I think there's a lot of people who will like Grand Theft Auto more, and I do love Grand Theft Auto. But I also really am the type of person who likes watching Grand Theft Auto more than I like playing Grand Theft Auto. But that's kind of just a me thing. I like watching people do like role play stuff in Grand Theft Auto. It's very fun. There's a lot of funny role players on different servers, so I don't watch it as much anymore. But I did used to watch GTA 5 a lot.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, none of this really matters. Like, it doesn't.
No, I don't really care who
Like-
wins at the Game Awards. It's nice, if a Nintendo game wins and if it's the game I specifically wanted to win. But at the end of the day, it's what a couple of critics that I don't know and will never know and probably will never speak to what they think about the game, and I just don't really care what they think.
So, I will say, for this year though, I do think that if Prime 4 wins Game of the Year, it
That could
will
be big
matter.
for it.
It would actually matter a fair bit. Like, it doesn't winning
That's
Game
fair.
of the Year doesn't matter for Grand Theft Auto or 3D Mario, because guess what?
No.
Both are still going to have historical sales numbers, right? Winning
Oh,
Game of the
yeah.
Year might have next to no impact on the sales of those games. Winning Game of the Year for something smaller like Expedition 33 or Metroid Prime 4, that will make a difference. It's hard to quantify how much of a difference, but it'll make a difference. It'll speak more to the
Oh, yeah.
conversation about these games.
I definitely think so. I think a nominee will do it a lot of help as
Mhm.
well. A nomination, I mean, which I definitely think it will get. So I think that will help it. But if it does manage to win Game of the Year, I do think that would be big for it. There's a lot more eyes on it. People be a lot more willing to give it a shot.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Prime 4 ends up winning like Best Shooter or something. Like they could.
Yeah, definitely. I don't.
Which
What
might,
else does have competition for? I guess
or
whatever
maybe Best Action Adventure.
COD
like
comes out this year.
Prime 4 could, actually, interestingly, Prime 4 could maybe win Best Music, Best Action Adventure,
Ooh, yeah.
Best Shooter, and then Game of the Year. Maybe Artistic Direction. Like, there's like 5, maybe 6 awards it could possibly win. And when it wins
I
none
feel
of
like
them,
Expedition 33 might win the art direction it's just so insanely good in that game. Not that Prime 4 isn't. It's just like, I don't know. For me personally, that Clair Obscure Expedition 33 is just kind of like the perfect art style. But that's also very subjective. Very subjective. Prime 4 is also an insanely good art style. So good.
And we have barely really seen what Prime 4 is all about yet.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing to consider here. I think. Oh no, there's a few things that were sent my way. So Adam Rohn, been a member for 24 straight months. Appreciate you. Says yo to you as well.
Yo.
Hello. Beholder Monster has become a member. Welcome. Glad to have you as a member.
Welcome.
Netweed09 with the first super chat of the evening. I think Switch 2 pre-orders are near 10 million worldwide now, 2 million in Japan alone, which is mind-boggling. Pre-orders have been very, very strong.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. What like? Do you have a estimate for how high pre-orders are?
I don't. I don't think that these numbers are probably too far off, but I don't have any official way to quantify that now. Have you seen any official numbers or anything that might be not official, but kind of hold water?
So the thing is, the Nintendo waitlist in Japan, that's not a pre-order. That's like a waitlist to get a pre-order, if that makes any sense. Directly from Nintendo's website, from Japan only. So it does suggest that a significant, staggering number of people want Switch 2 in just Japan, right? Like it is staggering. But in terms of people who are actually going to be able to pre-order the console, where they will literally have reserved the right to purchase the console, I don't think it's 10 million. And I only say that because I don't think there's going to be 10 million Switch 2s out in the first weekend of the console. For perspective, the PlayStation 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, both of them are on the same number, are tied for the most amount of initial sales for a video game system in the first month or so, right? And that was PS4 and PS5. Like that was, I think it's because they both came out in November, and then it's like that late November release to December 31st. Like that period of time, they sold about 4.5 million systems. I think Switch 2 is going to vastly surpass that number. But to put things into perspective here, that, I'm thinking like June 5th to June 31st, by the end of the first fiscal quarter of Nintendo's 2025, right? Because their first quarter actually just started April 1st. So April 1st, May 1st. So April, May, June, right? So we're basically basically June sales. I think whatever numbers are going to report for the first quarter, so basically just the few weeks of June that Switch 2 will be out, we are going to see a record high that will be greater than PS4 or PS5 sales in an even larger span of time during the holidays. I do think that. And my personal estimate is basically in line with what analysts have said, because I feel like they have a little bit more, they have more knowledge on this, right? So I'm basing my opinion off them. 6 to 8 million by the time June 30th comes around. It's June 30th, right? I always get that confused.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think it is 30.
June 30th. Yes. June 30th. So my prediction is 7.8 million systems sold by June 30th, which would be absolutely phenomenal. That would be a few million more than the highest recorded record ever in a shorter amount of time in a less sales demanding period of time. So yeah, and I would say that would be a tremendous, incredible success, and that's what I'm thinking. If they manage 10 million, I mean that just makes it all the more mind-blowingly incredible. I don't expect that, but if that's what happens, wonderful.
I mean, they're going
yeah.
for a lot of stock, as much stock as possible. So maybe they do have enough to ship 10 million units in the first month. That'd be crazy, but maybe they do. I don't know. I mean, like 8 million's not that far off from 10 million, so yeah, it might be possible. And analysts are saying 6 to 8 million, so not that far off.
They
not
could
that
be a bit
crazy.
off. They could be a bit off, though. Nintendo could do even better.
Yeah. But I mean, whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be a lot, and it's pretty much just going to be as much as they can ship, right? Like there's so much demand, it's just they can sell as much as they can ship. So it's really just dependent on the supply constraints, which apparently they've been thinking about for a long time. So hopefully they've gotten that all figured out.
Mm-hmm. So, let's move on.
Sure.
What shall we discuss next? I'm just looking over some of the things I've talked about lately. Well, all right. Let me ask you this, Brandon.
Okay.
Do you think there will be a Donkey Kong Bonanza Nintendo Direct?
Ooh. I think there's a good chance. I don't know that I would guarantee one, because they did show a lot of the treehouse, but they showed a lot of Mario Kart at the treehouse, and they had a direct for that. I don't know. It's interesting because I wouldn't say they need a direct, but you know, maybe there's some more hidden stuff they haven't shown. But honestly, I'm good with what they've shown. They could show just a bit more in like the June direct or whatever they do their summer direct, and then just release the game. I don't think they need a direct for it, but I would say it has a decent chance to. Might help promote the game.
So, I mean, we're kind of on the same page. I don't think it's a certainty, but I think it's a high probability.
I'd give it a 50-50.
I might argue it's a little higher.
High.
I might argue it's a little higher. But
Sure.
I don't know. That's kind of hard to say for sure. But the reason I'm going to argue that, though, that's maybe a little higher, is look at what we've gone so far for this year, right? We got a Switch 1 Direct, Switch 2 Direct immediately after. A few weeks later, a Mario Kart World Direct. Very dense with directs for a small period of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's scroll down to 2017. Here we are. So in 2017, we had a Fire Emblem Direct on January 18th. But before this, it's not listed here because it's not technically a Direct. There was the Nintendo Switch 1 presentation, right? So we had the mega, hour, 10-minute long live conference on Switch 1. Then there was a Fire Emblem Direct. Then the Switch came out. Then there was an April Direct. Then there was an ARMS game-specific Nintendo Direct. Then in June, it's also not listed here because they didn't brand it as a Direct. There was the Nintendo E3 Spotlight event, which is essentially a Nintendo Direct. So we had a mega event in January, a mega event in June. They're just not listed here. Then we had another game-specific Splatoon Direct. Then your typical September Direct. Another game, an Animal Crossing mobile Direct, but yeah, kind of a game-specific Direct. Then another one, a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct. So this period of time, 2017, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus the E3 event plus the Switch presentation, 9 presentations. And so I think that makes a lot. It's a lot, but it's also the launch year for the Nintendo Switch. So it makes sense to go hard here. And there was a lot of game-specific presentations during this period of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, 2 of these 5 are not for Switch 1, right? But still, they had a lot, right? So I then asked myself, could we maybe see? By the way, if there was any Pokemon Presents, this doesn't even count. I gotta go back. There's usually some kind of Pokemon Presents in the year as well. There's also that stuff, but that's every year that's the case, right?
Right.
I think we look at this, right? We had an ARMS Direct, Splatoon 2 Direct, a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct. If they follow a similar format, there's more than enough reason to think that we could have one more, maybe two more game-specific Directs before this year is up. And considering the major games we have left that would probably need a Nintendo Direct, Metroid Prime 4, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Dragon Drive is not going to get a Nintendo Direct. Dragon Drive is a digital-only release. So is Welcome Tour, by the way. Those aren't going to get Directs. The Switch 2 edition games of like Kirby and Mario Party Jamboree, they're effectively just games that came out already with some DLC. They are not going to get Directs either.
No.
Pokemon Legends EA, there might be another Pokemon Presents that talks more about that, right? But that would be separate, right? I don't think we consider that in this equation here. Maybe Nintendo announces another game in the June Direct, and then let's say my theory is correct, and it is Luigi's Mansion 4. That could maybe get a Nintendo Direct, right? So I guess one game that might get a Direct, but I still think it's also pretty unlikely, is Kirby Air Riders. It doesn't seem like the kind of game that would get a Direct, but I could see
it getting a Direct.
Maybe, right? Point is, though, you look at that, I think there's less than a handful of games that could get a game-specific Direct, and we're maybe going to get two more game-specific Directs this year if they handle things somewhat similar to 2017, if not more. And so purely from that perspective, yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza maybe has a 50% chance to get a Direct. But I would also say that with Donkey Kong, very similar to Mario Kart World, it's that second next game right after Mario Kart World, right? Like it comes out in July. They may want to give it even more attention, put more eyes on it, talk more about it. Also, with Donkey Kong, this is a return for Donkey Kong, right? But it's also a completely new format for Donkey Kong. So there may be a lot more they really need to tell us about this game. And for those who have been paying attention to all the Donkey Kong Bonanza theories, this game goes deep, really deep. It's insane how deep it goes. Like recently, Nintendo put out a screenshot, and there is ruins for a pirate ship. King K. Rool had a pirate ship. So yeah, I mean, it is just there's continual, constant references. It feels like. I think there's definitely a lot of material to have a Direct for Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, I'm speaking from more like a lore perspective, right? But we've actually heard from Andre Segers that there is more to this game. He's been told that there's more to this game than from what they've shown this so far, which I find very believable because we've seen a lot of evidence to that already, right? Like we've seen evidence of Rambi, the side-scrolling sections, all of the like separate alternate realms you can explore, very like Mario Odyssey, Mario Sunshine, like we have that stuff. But we've also seen that there are towns. Like it seems like there's actually going to be a decent amount of variety to the gameplay. So I think there's a pretty good chance there's going to be a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct, probably after the June Direct, maybe a couple weeks before Bonanza comes out, early July.
Sure, I could see that. I also think they could just show it off, all that kind of stuff in the Direct, but they could also have another Direct.
Well, I guess the question is,
I could see it going either way.
I mean, the thing is, like, you look at the Mario Kart World Direct, you could argue it's basically an overglorified overview trailer, right? Like they could just give us a new trailer in the June Direct, which we assume we're going to get either way. And then there's just another big trailer that comes out between the June Direct and the release of the game, which would be like the overview trailer where we would learn more. I mean, it's really the same difference because there's usually an overview trailer for every major release. An overview trailer is basically kind of like a direct mini for a specific game.
Sure. I will say, with Mario Odyssey, there was a lot of things they held back on, including the camping mechanic, till E3 2017. And they did not feel the need to do a direct for that to show those kinds of features off. They just showed it during the normal directs. And it was fine. So I think they could do the same for Donkey Kong if they want, but if they want to have a direct for it, then they can go ahead and do that as well. I just don't think they really need to. I think Prime 4 would be better for a direct. That's true. I mean, they do a lot of directs they don't need to do, so that's why I'm saying they could definitely do it. I don't think they need to do it.
There's also room to have a Donkey Kong direct and a Metroid Prime direct.
Sure.
And a Luigi's Mansion 4 direct for that matter. Who's to say it only has to be 2 more? It could still be more.
I mean, they could go ham on the directs. For sure. I mean, they did in 2017, so why not? I just,
exactly.
Well, I'm saying it's kind of just 50-50 for me. I could see it going out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what would be interesting for us to discuss is what leads to them doing a direct. Like what decision? Like why did they have a Mario Kart World direct?
Right.
Especially because this Mario Kart World direct is not even considered to be a good direct. Like a lot of people feel like it was no new information. There is new information, but it's subtle.
Yeah. Kind of glossed over the new stuff and focused on the stuff they'd already told us.
Yeah, like they probably could have done a better job if they like really harped on how there's a new mission mode in the free roam, which they talked about, but they didn't really like make it a big deal. It was just kind of like, hey, this is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
battle mode they barely talked about.
Yeah. They talked about it though. I mean, so like why do we think they had a Mario Kart World Direct? Was it just purely because like, hey, let's keep the conversation going?
I guess so. It's interesting for them to do a Mario Kart Direct because they know the game's going to sell. They know people know what Mario Kart is.
Right.
I guess they just want to go really, really ham on the advertising, but why? Especially because you're bundling it with the console as well, and that's the kind of the skew most people are going to be going for. So they're going to get Mario Kart with their console. Like most people are going to try to get that one. In fact, they seem to have stocked the Mario Kart bundle more in most places.
I've heard it's like a 7-to-3 ratio or something like that.
Yeah, like there's way more Mario Kart bundles than just normal ones. So they obviously knew that people are going to go for the Mario Kart bundle. So why feel the need to go ham on the... I don't get it. That is a very good question, why this Direct even exists. But I guess just, even more advertising. They want this game... They want to assure this game is going to sell as well as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I guess.
I mean, it is an $80 game, right? So maybe they wanted to show more of it off to really sell people. It also had 4 treehouse segments.
Yeah. That's the thing, is they showed off so much of it before this Direct.
Mm-hmm. I mean, looking through, this is the first game-specific Direct we had in a while. The last time we had one was Mario Wonder in 2023. I thought you were going to say something. Did I lose you? I did. See, I wasn't looking, and I saw that Brandon was booted. I'm waiting for him to come back. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, like I was kind of thinking you were going to say something, and you just didn't.
Fair.
You were gone. I just brought up how the last time we had a game-specific Direct before Mario Kart was the Mario Wonder Direct.
Right.
So why did we get a Mario Wonder Direct?
That's a good question. I mean, it's weird because that's also another one where it's like they knew it was going to sell gangbusters either way. So why do a Direct for it? I don't know.
They
Maybe they just think having directs for their biggest games is really, really good for like media, because it makes the media talk about their biggest games a lot more because there's a direct about them.
But they didn't do one for Pikmin 4.
No.
And
So
they
I feel
did
like
not
they're
do
kind of
one for Tears of the
misguided with
Kingdom.
that. It's like I feel like they should be doing the smaller games, not the big games.
They didn't do one for Tears of the Kingdom.
No, but they had like other presentations for that were just not
Yeah.
directs necessarily.
So they did, they did two things. Let me see. So they did two things. They did I don't know. I'm searching Sakurai Presents Tears of the Kingdom. It was a Tears of the Kingdom demonstration.
Was it
that they did.
Aonuma?
Yeah, did I say Sakurai? Yeah.
Yeah.
AJ Numa did a Tears of the Kingdom demonstration. So this is the third trailer, right? You see here on the
Mhm.
YouTube feed. This was like after the Tears of the Kingdom demonstration, which is not here because I didn't search it. They said, hey, we're gonna upload the final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, and it was like live streamed, right? So we all like gathered together, everyone, they made it into an event, but it was just a trailer drop, basically.
Right.
But there was also
I think parts of the reason they didn't do it direct for Tears of the Kingdom is just they wanted a lot of stuff to be secret. Like they didn't show the depths or anything.
No, they were hush hush about the game, but they
Yeah.
did basically have a Tears of the Kingdom direct because they did this. The
Right.
Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Mr. Numa gameplay demonstration, almost a 14-minute presentation. And yeah, like this, it told us about the new mechanics of the game. It was very cool. It was very exciting.
This mushroom is
So, I mean, they didn't do a direct per se for Tears of the Kingdom, but they kind of did the equivalent, between that
Basically.
and the whole hyping up of the final trailer. Pikmin 4 they didn't do. It's kind of random. They seem to come up with different strategies for each game. I mean, Pikmin 4, it worked out well for Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 has gone on to become a strong seller, but there was no like special presentation for Pikmin 4. Now,
I think Pikmin 4 could have done even better than it did, though, because I don't think it did like crazy good. How much did it sell? Like, just I don't remember. I want to say it was in like the 3 to 5 million range, somewhere in there.
That sounds right. As of March 31st, 2024, which was more than a year ago, 3.48 million. Did you get booted again? Yeah, he got booted again. It's gone. Can't find him. Brandon's gone. Gone again. Always leaving me behind. Oh, so sad. Yeah, Alma. I would like to say it's safe to say it's hit 4 million by now, but I don't know if it is a certainty that Pikmin 4 has hit 4 million by now. I really don't. I would like to think so, but they haven't told us. Last I checked, at least. Brandon Replay, where are you at? Brandon Replay.
The mic wouldn't register with the software. It's so annoying because my headset will disconnect sometimes if I move in the right way. The cord gets pulled. But most software, I'll just it will come back in a second and then it'll be fine. But this one, if my mic goes out for a second, it's just like get kicked, get out of here.
This is very sad, Brandon, because I feel like one of us should be talking most of the time, and so if I stop talking, it's so I can eat a chicken nugget, and then you get booted.
I'm not there to fill the void.
And I'm just chewing into the microphone.
I will try my best to not let it do that. I don't know if there's a setting to not auto kick me, but I don't know.
I'm chewing.
Oh yes. Choo choo choo.
Anyway,
train.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of hard to sort out when Nintendo is going to do a direct for a particular game or not.
Yeah, it seems kind of random, but they do seem to do them for a lot more often for high-profile games, oddly enough, which I think is kind of strange. I feel like they should be doing it the opposite way. Show off more of these smaller games. Show off what really makes them worth buying if they want to promote their smaller series.
Yeah, like they did a Xenoblade 2 Direct, and then a Xenoblade 3 Direct. Like those
good.
games
They're
get
great.
directs, and they're not big sellers. Splatoon always gets a direct.
Yeah.
And you think like these series, we kind of know the drill with them already, right? Like, so why do they do the direct? I think it's because there's just a lot to say about these games, right? Like with Xenoblade, the RPG mechanics, these systems in place, there's a lot. They're elaborate. There's a lot to be explained. So it does make sense to have a direct for the Xenoblade games, right? The Splatoon games, there's usually a lot of different types of updates, you know? So it kind of makes sense. Like, I understand why Splatoon and Xenoblade should get directs. But, you know, why shouldn't Pikmin? Why does that mean Pikmin 4 can't? Like, Pikmin 4 had some substantial changes, didn't get a direct, right? Tears of the Kingdom, they basically did it. It just in a different way. I remember we were freaking out about Tears of the Kingdom because we were like, "Oh, Nintendo's being so quiet. They're not telling us anything, and it comes out in 6 weeks. What is going on?" And they're like, "Oh, here it is. Here's our demonstration. Oh, here's the final trailer. Oh, here's all the with 2 weeks to go. Here's all the press events." And like they waited till last minute, and then they just exploded with a whole bunch of information.
Oh yeah.
People were like, "Oh, the game's getting delayed. It's getting canceled. It doesn't exist." Like, yeah, I don't know. That was probably part of their plan.
I definitely think it was.
Yeah. Like I look at 2022, Curry in the Forgotten Land. That didn't get a direct. That was a pretty big deal game.
Yeah.
Metroid Dread in 2021 didn't have a direct. However, it did have a lot of attention. They had the Sakamoto developer diary, and it still had a big segment during the direct on top of the developer diary. They had a lot of like log entries about Metroid Dread. There was like 7 or so leading up. There was a decent amount of promotion for that game. Was there treehouse footage? I think there was treehouse footage for Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
Yes. I think at least one segment, maybe. I think it had maybe 2. Yeah, because I remember making the argument that Metroid Dread was pushed more so than any other game.
It was
at E3 2021.
Constant marketing.
Yeah. So it didn't have a direct, but it had a lot. There was still a lot of things done for it. And so, you know, it doesn't have to be a direct. It doesn't have to be. But basically, there's a lot of information about a game, and they need to share it to us in some way. Like that's the main point. And so going back to Donkey Kong Bonanza, how are they going to go about doing that? I think we're going to need more than one trailer from a June direct. I think it's going to need to be a bit more than that. Maybe there's more treehouse footage, but they've already done a decent amount of treehouse footage. Maybe they should just do a Bonanza direct. So
I'd be hyped. Although I don't know that I need to see more of the game, but I do know there's a lot more people who are like less convinced about this game than I am. So maybe it does need a direct, but we'll see what the trailer entails when they show off the game next.
Yeah. Anyway, let's end this poll. It's been up for 37 minutes. It's got 93 votes. Ron McClure. Metroid has zero chance for being Game of the Year. Just returning to reality. Zero chance.
Zero chance. Zero chance.
I feel like zero. The moment you say zero, it's hard for me to kind of like take it too seriously.
If it's zero, that means it will not get even nominated. Because if it gets nominated, it by definition has a chance. So what he's saying is it won't even get nominated. It would just they won't get nominated for anything.
Metroid has such a consistent history for being a critical darling. Like, listen, man, if you want to be one of those people that says, "Oh, Metroid's not going to sell well," I think, well, I don't like that. I think that's fine because you at least have a historical like basis for that, right? Like there are facts to back that up, right? Like, well, granted, Metroid does sell well. It's all relative, but it's not like a 5 to 10 million plus seller, right? It's a 1 to 3 million seller, right? So it's a different tier. So if you want to argue that Metroid's not above that tier, you have evidence to back up that argument. But if you want to say that Metroid has zero chance to be awarded something based off how good people perceive the game, well, there's a lot of evidence to the contrary, because the Metroid series has always been known to be a game that's received really well in terms of critical reception. So you don't have to predict that it's going to win, but to say zero, yeah, I mean, I can't really relate to that thinking. I just can't.
No.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 10,000 Noodles has brought up Astrobot. It's a wonderful example. Astrobot's not a big seller, but it won Game of the Year. Why? Because it was a good game. And for the record, like, I think a lot of people probably assume Metroid Prime 4 will review better than Astrobot. Actually, I want to double. I think Astrobot had like a 94 on Metacritic, which I think is actually
really.
Let me double check.
I thought it was like high 80s.
No, I think you're probably thinking about the pack-in. Astrobot was a 94 on Metacritic.
Dang! Hell yeah.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, it seems to deserve it. It's definitely one of my most hyped games to play on the PlayStation. I
mean, Prior Master was also 94, so but that was a remaster.
Yeah.
The original release had a 98. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Prime 4. But Prime 4 is in that category of like a 94 to 98 in terms of critical reception. It's gonna be in the conversation, buddy.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, do you want to make the argument that maybe Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong Bonanza have a better chance? Let's have that conversation. So, I think Mario Kart World might actually be the best reviewed Mario Kart game ever.
Okay.
I don't think that's
currently the best reviewed Mario Kart.
That's a great question, Brandon. And I do not have the answer off the top of my head. But I want to say that Mario Kart 8 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe actually reviewed really well.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Mario Kart Deluxe was a 92 on Metacritic.
Okay.
That's insane. Let's look at Mario Kart 8, like for Wii U. Booster Course Pass, there's different waves. They all reviewed 80s or 90s. Mario Kart 8 for Wii U got an 88 on Metacritic. That's it's pretty. Mario Kart 8 is probably the best reviewed Mario Kart. But let's look at Mario Kart 7.
Favorite so far.
I think Mario Kart's been trending more and more positively. All right, so Mario Kart 7. Here, I'll just share this because it shows a lot of scores.
With that they just have been getting better over time.
It's not exactly true, but it's kind of true. All right, so Mario Kart 7, 85 on Metacritic. We already talked about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being a 92, Mario Kart 8 being 88. Mario Kart DS, 91. Bro, this one was a classic.
I never had Mario Kart DS. I had a DS.
Waves.
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart Wii was an 82.
Mario Kart Wii. Let's go.
That is the worst reviewed so far on this list. That's hilarious.
Honestly, it deserves the 82. But if you play it the right way, it's my favorite Mario Kart.
I loved Mario Kart Wii.
I loved it as
Lot.
well back in the day. As a kid, I loved it. I remember going back and playing Mario Kart 64 right after playing Mario Kart Wii and being like, "Oh God, the difference! It's crazy."
Double Dash 87. I'm impressed.
The tracks, Mario Kart 64, 83. How dare they?
Where's that? Oh,
How dare they? That's a 100
I don't know.
classic. Nah, it's a good game. I mean, I loved it as a kid, mostly
Let's
nostalgia.
be
Going
real.
back and trying to play it, it's still playable, but yeah, it's not as good as
Mario Kart games in general have gotten a lot better from the 90s. So,
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
but 83 is a good score. Like that's not a bad score.
Yeah,
It's a good game.
Whoa,
Mario
people
Kart
do not
Wii's
like Mario
reviewed
Kart
worse.
4.
There's not a Mario Kart game I dislike.
Tor is not reviewed well.
Well, it's a mobile game, so
They did
Super
have
Circuit.
very atrocious microtransactions.
Home Circuit, the Toys to Life thing, 75.
That's crazy.
Gran
Oh, they
Turismo.
ranked the booster course passes on their own? That's crazy.
Yeah. Wave 5 got a 74. That's so. All right.
I thought Wave 5 was. Maybe I'm thinking of the different one. I
I
thought
don't
the later
remember.
waves are actually genuinely better than the other waves. But
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't put too much stock into reviewing the individual waves. So anyway, I will say, I did not think the Mario Kart games were reviewed this well. Actually,
really, that's about what I expected.
I'm a little surprised. So that is
Honestly, I thought Mario Kart 8
Yeah.
Deluxe might be higher than a 92.
no. I think 92 is a very good score for what it is.
Oh yeah, it's a very good score. Also, Mario Kart Deluxe is like basically a perfect Mario Kart game, outside of like not evolving Mario Kart, like just keeping it how it was. Like it kind of perfected that formula of Mario Kart. So
Yeah. With that in mind, though, I think I can see Mario Kart World reviewing better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I think it has a chance.
Yeah. I mean,
For
I definitely think it's going to review better than Mario Kart 8 for Wii U, which is
Okay.
already still a great score, by the way. An 88, an 88 in many years would be
I'm
in the Game of the Year
curious.
conversation.
I am curious if, because this game is so much more ambitious and they're going for so many different things, that if that might actually drag the score down. Because a lot of times when you go for a ton of stuff, if there is kind of stuff that's more mediocre, even if most of the stuff is really, really good, the fact that there is some mediocre content tends to drag review scores down. Even though if that content just didn't exist, the review score would be higher, funnily enough. But that just tends to sometimes happen, I've noticed. So I'm curious if, because they're going for so many things, if maybe there's some different missions that aren't that great, or maybe there's a lot of repetition in the missions or something in the open world, and some people are like, that drags the review score down for them. You know, things like that. Just because they're going for so much more, there's so many more areas to fail. You know? Not saying that they'll fail necessarily outright at any of them, but there could be some parts that people find a little more tedious or mediocre, not as, fantastic. Does it make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I think it's a load of baloney. I'm not saying your point is wrong. I just mean, like, it sounds to me like you're saying like the game might get reviewed unfairly.
I mean, sure. You could
Like, I
argue
don't
that.
know. Like, wouldn't that be like saying, man, the Koroks, there's only like 7 different style of challenges. Therefore, Tears of the Kingdom's only a 91 instead of a 96. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can
Sure.
find things to nitpick if you want to. But, clearly the majority of Tears of the Kingdom isn't the Korok challenges, right? Like, so
Sure.
I don't, if someone's like docking a lot of points because they didn't find enough variety specifically with the Korok challenges in Tears of the Kingdom, Well, clearly they're a minority based off the critical reception of the game, right? I don't know though. I feel like I to be honest with you, like from everything we've seen, I don't see why. I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to hate on the game, right? Like that's always going to be the case. But I think they're going to be in the minority. Like I don't think the missions are going to be bad. I don't see. I mean, maybe to your point, there won't be that much variety to them. They won't be that interesting. Like I suppose that's possible. Like maybe what's going to end up being the case is that free roam won't be that appreciated.
Right.
And if that's what happens, maybe that could drag down the score. So I sort of see what you're saying, but I don't have the sense
advertised as like it's an $80 game. It's supposed to be like extremely ambitious, super high quality. So I think that will kind of add some more scrutiny to like how people see the game.
I guarantee you some critics will go in that direction. And I'm just going to tell you what I think right now. I think that's so stupid. Let me explain.
I think it's kind of fair only because Nintendo's kind of positioning it that way.
So let me I don't all right, so here's the thing. Game prices are going up. They're just going up. It's not just Nintendo.
Sure.
Right? It's happening across the board. So I don't know. I don't think that's an appropriate way to look at it. But it also gets tricky though, right? Because there are games that have been reviewed really well that are only like $10. And there are games that have been reviewed really well. They're only like $60. You know, when you start to
I agree that pricing shouldn't really affect a review most of the time.
It gets too messy.
Because the price is also kind of subjective because like it's different for different people. Some people may only buy games that are $10 or $20 because that's more what they can afford. Maybe a $70, $80 game's too much for some people, but other people, $70, $80 might be nothing. So it's a very subjective thing. It's kind of hard to put into a review.
I just don't think once you start looking at pricing, like we're starting to enter the conversation where this starts to become more of a political piece, right? I just want a review on the game.
Yeah.
So, you know, personally, like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm
definitely not saying I agree with any of the points I'm making, by the way. These are just things I think could happen.
You're just suggesting possibilities for how some people may handle it. And the thing is, I think you're probably right in this. Like, there probably will be people who are like, man, for $80, this is ridiculous. Like, there's probably going to be a few reviews like that. But I also think those are going to be like the bad reviews, like on the outlier reviews. Like I don't think most people are going to be like, wow, I can't believe, you know, like I don't think, like, for example, Tears of the Kingdom was $70. I do not remember the conversation. Like, yes, it was a big talking point when we first learned about the price, the same way it was for Mario Kart World, and I understand that. But when the reviews came out, I do not remember people docking the score of the game because it was $70. By the way, all these critics get the game for free. So, you know, there's that. I really hope that that's not what the conversation becomes, because what I want it to be is tell me what the game is, tell me how good it is, and I will take that knowledge and take the knowledge of the price point and consider it, but don't make that decision for me.
Exactly.
So
that's what I'm saying. The pricing is very subjective because it's it's of different value to different people.
Yeah. But I look at Mario Kart World and I kind of get the sense that this is probably the most complete Mario Kart game ever.
I'm super excited for it. It seems like a dream game for me personally.
I mean, if we want to talk about from like I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Mario Kart World is great, but it's not worth $80." Like, if you want, All right, let's think about it like this. How much should Mario Kart World be priced, or rather, how much should a new Mario Kart game be priced? Let's say, I mean, people are okay with 60, right?
Yeah.
Maybe people wouldn't complain if it's 70, but the thing is, like, it's kind of already become a typical expectation, even before the price hikes that have just happened. The expectation is games that are, above 1080p, right? 4K development, like those are $70 games. AAA games are $70 games. So
I'd say it's more just this generation in general.
Sure.
Than 4K, because that wasn't the case during say the PS4 Pro or the Xbox Series X, or the Xbox One X, excuse me, that were 4K machines. And those were still $60 games. I'd say more just this generation. This has been, 70 has been the new norm.
Right. Let's see. Okay, so let's just look at it from this perspective. All right, so if you multiply $60 by 1.33, you get $80, right? So basically, if you want to look at it from a content perspective, which I think, I don't like looking things at this way because I don't think it's quite fair, but just to do that, to kind of service the argument, right? You would sort of, if you would want to have a 33% increase in the amount of content in the game, okay? If you're spending that much more. So the reason, by the way, I think that it's $80 because that's where the market's at right now. That's purely where we're at. But does Mario Kart World have more than 33% extra content compared to what a normal Mario Kart game would have been at 60? Because typically Mario Kart games launch with 32 tracks, right?
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 compare Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the Booster Course Pass because that costs extra money.
Yeah, you can't. No, that's
so what, $25 for the extra tracks, or 20? How much was it? 25?
I don't remember. Something like that. 30, maybe, to double the amount of content in the game. I remember considering it a good deal, but
yeah, I think it was 20 or $25 if I remember correctly, which would put
it's free for
the total
expansion
price at
pack members.
80, 85.
Let's Google it.
True, but then you have to pay for the expansion pack.
Yeah. Booster Course Pass price $25.
Yep. Okay. So that puts the total content
USD.
at 85 then for the game, and then the pass, assuming you buy it at full price. There's no sale or anything.
96 tracks. That's a hell of a deal. But for those tracks don't have as much quality.
No. And there's no open world linking them together or anything like that.
Yeah. So
I mean, there's basically no single player content in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Right.
Just
Mario Kart World is an entire open world with lots of collectibles, a mission mode. It has 2 different racing modes, not just Grand Prix mode, but now also Knockout Tour.
Yeah,
I think, like, and so for me,
wall riding, grinding.
I mean, the mechanics are certainly evolved as well. Wait, I wanted to share this. If you count this out, each of these, they're not straightaways, right? Like, it's depicted on the map as almost straightaways, but these are the in-between tracks, the intermission tracks in the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. There's more than 100 of these. These are each individual sections you race through in the game, right? Not counting the tracks themselves you race on, that you can race on at different angles, by the way, right? So like over here is Spaceport. There's a Grand Prix that I believe I think it goes like this. You start here, which is this is Super Mario Bros. Circuit. Then this is Crown City. I forget what this one is, but it's like the train place. And then here's Spaceport, right? That's like the first Grand Prix. But there's also I want to say what Cherry Tour, which goes through this area and crosses through here. And so when you in the knockout tour, right? So you do one thing, the Grand Prix, right? And at the end of the Grand Prix, you sort of race up to the top, and there's a giant Donkey Kong that's throwing barrels at you at the top, right? It's really cool. But in the knockout tour, you race through this section as well, or rather this area, and the underside, like you race through a completely different part of the track. It's not there's zero rehashing, recycling of the track. It's a completely different part. You see, you drive through an entirely different section. And so I bring that up, right? Because I don't think people truly understand just how much content is in this game. For the most part, every race has an entirely unique section. Like, it's not like in prior Mario Kart games where a track you do laps, right? Like, in Mario Kart 8, they started to introduce the sectioned races, and some of them are like that. And I remember when this came out, people were like, man, they should make a Mario Kart game where all of the tracks are like this. Guess what? In Mario Kart World, almost all the tracks are like this. So there's actually there's a significant amount of variety to what you can race through and explore. It's far more than a base game with 32 tracks, right? Like it's a staggering difference, really. Like, we're not talking about 33% more content. We're talking about a lot more content in terms of what you can literally race through. And there's two different modes to enjoy this. Then you have the free roam, where you can explore this entire open world map with so many different things to find.
Several different types of collectibles. The
mission, I think people were sleeping on the missions. That is essentially what people have been waiting for, like a single player mode. Yeah. We do not know how involved the missions are, but we do know there's over 100 challenges scattered throughout the map. How much more, we do not know. But I have some interesting speculation on this. So going back to Spaceport here, right? Okay. Spaceport in the Grand Prix mode, you find the giant donkey. You know what? I think it would be better just to look at like the treehouse, because then you can actually see the game instead of just a little small thing on the map. Sure. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna screen share something else. Stop that. Present this. Okay.
I didn't even notice.
All right. I don't need to hear you right now. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So at the top of Spaceport, right, you see the giant Donkey Kong here.
Yeah.
Brandon, is that you?
What?
Your voice does sound so different. I thought there was a different person in the show. I was like, what's going on?
That's me.
What's wrong with your voice?
Nothing.
You just went through double puberty. Your voice was normal before.
I'm just speaking in a lower register.
Oh, man. You're creeping me out is what you're doing. Thanks.
Okay.
Anyway, what were you saying though? I got distracted by the change.
I was just saying Big Donkey Kong's cool.
He is cool, right?
I was waiting to see what you were about to say something, then you.
All right. Okay. So now I gotta pull up a different YouTube video. I think this is it. Okay, apparently when I search Cherry Rally, I get fortune cookies. All right, it's here. So there's a Game Explain video. I'm trying to find here. I'm showing this one. All right, so this is Andre Seegers, right? He was showing off. Right, here it is. Okay, so notice how we were approaching the spaceport from a completely different angle now.
Right.
You see the giant Donkey Kong here. Normally he's at the top of this rocket, but here he's staring at you as you approach him. Right, he's roaring, Now he's running back to a different part of the stage. And we're going to see in a second here where he's at. But I think you're starting to get the point I'm trying to point out here, right? In two different modes, we go through an entirely different version of the track, and the boss for the track does something completely different.
Yeah.
So this is what he does in Knockout Tour. When you come in from this section, from this direction, and the Grand Prix is at the very top. What happens when you explore this track in free roam and you select a P-switch and do a challenge in the area? Is that perhaps a boss fight with the giant Donkey Kong?
Oh, I could see that. That would be fun.
And so my point is, we do not know what is going to happen with the missions mode in Mario Kart World. They've really only told us a little bit. And it's going to be, I mean, we may learn before the game comes out between like reviews or what have you, but there's some serious potential there, right? So I just think what we're really kind of sleeping on just how vast this game is. It's more than a 33% increase in content.
Right.
That said, I don't think we should look at it as, oh, there's more content, therefore it's worth the price. I think that's just kind of where the market's at. And if it's something that you deem valuable to you, go for it. If not, that's fine too. You vote with your dollar.
For sure.
Anyway, I think the game's significant, which goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. To your point, Brandon, with Mario Kart World, they kind of have to. I don't think that every section needs to be a masterpiece. But I do think that the three main elements of the game have to be really good. Free roam has to be really good. Grand Prix has to be really good. Knockout Tour has to be really good. And from what we understand, Grand Prix and Knockout Tour are probably going to be a slam dunk. Yeah. I think people are going to be really excited about those. Free roam, I think it's going to come down to what they're doing with the missions. And as I point out to you, I think there's some serious potential, but we don't know what they're doing. If they do what I'm hoping they're going to do, then if they do this and then they still have some unlockables, right? They still have 200cc and mirror mode. Maybe they stack them. There's just going to be a lot more to do in this game than prior Mario Kart games. It's all going to be fun and refreshing. I think Mario Kart World has a very good chance to be the best reviewed Mario Kart game ever. And if that's the case, if it's in the 90s, guess what? It should be in the Game of the Year conversation. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was not, because at the end of the day, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was just a deluxe version of a game that came out a few years ago. A few years prior. This would be a brand new title.
It had a great battle mode, but that's not really the core of what makes Mario Kart.
No, we kind
Even
of
though I
overlooked
thought it was
battle
the
mode.
best battle mode in the series, in my opinion. Absolutely incredible. I think I sunk like 80 hours into battle mode alone.
I'm very curious how I'm going to feel about battle mode this time. Maybe I'll get more involved with the online. I mean, I think something else that we're sleeping on is the impact of game chat. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Brandon. Maybe, but I don't want to. I don't know. I could see them adding more through DLC or something, but we'll see.
3 DLC, hopefully.
Yeah. Maybe a subpar battle mode. Like battle mode might be an afterthought again, right? And if battle mode is an afterthought again, then
I could drag the story down.
Although here's the thing about battle mode. This is another reason why I would argue that Mario Kart World is going to review really well. Mario Kart 8 for Wii U had the worst battle mode of all time.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was really bad. Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, the battle mode tracks were just the racing tracks. They just threw you in there. No, they made sure to create custom battle mode tracks. Like outside, like they didn't even integrate because everything in this game is all about integrating everything into the world. The open world. No, for battle mode, they're like, nah, we made that mistake on Mario Kart 8 for Wii U. Let's just create unique battle arenas. So they did put effort. So
that is good.
Yeah. So I I think there's a lot going for Mario Kart World to be one of the highest reviewed Mario Kart games. So I do think it can be in that game of the year conversation.
I think battle mode has good bones from what they've shown. I'm just hoping it's more than just those 2 modes. But there's 5 modes in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it's not that hard to add new modes, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, if they treat Mario Kart World like Splatoon, they could just add more modes later.
That's fair. If they add new modes for free, specifically for free later, then I'll be fine with it. But if it's just 2 modes and then I have to pay for more, I'm gonna do it. To be fair, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna be happy about it.
Yeah. Anyways, so Mario Kart World could maybe be in that game of the year conversation. Metroid Prime 4, given the history of Metroid games, we kind of assume that it's going to be in that conversation, right?
I think it's a nomination for sure.
Right. Well, I mean, everything we see about Prime 4 seems to be suggesting it has that level of quality and attention to detail. So I don't think we're going to have much arguments there. Unless you're someone who thinks there's zero chance of anything, which is
story and cutscenes as well, which is a big for the TGA's kind of appeal.
Yeah, I mean that's something about the game that might push it to another level. But we also have to take into consideration that these games have to modernize themselves, right? What was a 92 in 2017 is not a 92 now. So we do have to think about that. Kind of goes back to the Prime Remastered thing. Like a 94 is great, but it's still lower than the 98 back in 2002. You know, like they did some things to modernize the game, but you know, Metroid Prime in 2023 remastered is not as good as the original Metroid Prime back on Nintendo GameCube in 2002. It's still amazing, but you know, the gaming universe has improved across the board. Yeah. So it's a little bit harder to stand out nowadays. But I think we should also talk about Donkey Kong Bonanza. Donkey Kong Bonanza is an interesting one.
I think that one is going to compete with Mario Kart for best like family game kind of category. Although I think it might get a Game of the Year nomination. I don't think it will win. But best family game or best like action game maybe. I don't know, maybe not action game. But I don't know. Family game for sure.
So I just want to make myself clear. I don't know where I rank them. I mean, I probably rank Prime 4 above all of them just because of how long I've waited specifically for Prime 4. But Prime 4, Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, I am extremely hyped for all 3, right? I don't want to necessarily put one above the other, right? They're all 3 incredible. Like they're like this trifecta of amazingness for me. But I look at Donkey Kong Bonanza, and while I am extremely excited for it, I do think it has the lowest chance of the 3 to win Game of the Year. Yeah. And I say that not because I don't think it can't. I think like if it's done right, it can be just as good, if not better, than everything else. So it still has an opportunity to be an ultimate masterpiece and even win Game of the Year. But I just see some things about the game that have me concerned for how people are going to receive it across the board. Because the destruction is cool. However, it comes at a cost, right? Like the nearly fully destructible environments are amazing. And that's some really interesting, fresh gameplay. But the costs are, well, a lot of the rock stuff graphically looks a little simple. So there's that. But also, too, the 3D map has a terrible frame rate. And it's mind-boggling that they can even do the 3D. Like the fact that they have this entire massive 3D environment. You're destroying everything. None of it changes, at least for that current run. And there's a 3D map you can pull up immediately that shows everything that you've done to the map in real time. Like that's just mind-boggling that they can pull that all off.
Between Donkey Kong and Mario Kart, they're really going hard on the mini maps and just maps in general for Switch 2. Super hyped about that.
It's very cool stuff. But I pointed out though, like frame rate issues, simple textures, these are things that can impact review scores, you know?
Sure.
And potentially some people may feel the gameplay is repetitive. Now we've already mentioned that there appears to be more to the game. They just
Yeah.
haven't shown that to us
Not
yet.
everywhere seems to be as destructible as some places. There are more strict limits in certain areas that are more platform focused.
Yeah.
To keep, if you can destroy everything in the environment, that kind of ruins the game if they want to actually make a 3D platformer. So that's not, you can't just destroy everything. There are large segments where you can practically destroy everything, but there's also large segments where you can't destroy as much. You can only go a little bit, a few feet into the ground, and then there's a hard cap. There's like a material you can't break. They do kind of vary it up, so there's more just traditional 3D platforming segments in there. It's not just always destroying everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be like as Wolfrose Booster points out, there'll be bonus levels. There's going to be a lot of variety, I think. But we don't know how much, I guess is my point. Like we have put it this way. We have a pretty good working understanding of how Mario Kart World is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have that for Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think there may be secrets to be found in Mario Kart World, but we pretty much know, like, what it's going to be, right? With Donkey Kong Bonanza, there's still a lot of question marks, and there are some things he's seen that are clear issues that not everyone's going to respond to really well. Some of those issues may be ironed out, and one of the issues is, just the gameplay. Is there more to it? And that we just don't know yet. I will say, though, the fact that we keep seeing so much evidence for King K. Rool, the fact that there was that Nintendo of Korea leak where there's a young Pauline riding on Donkey Kong's shoulder, to me that just implies there's like going to be a lot of like story developments in this game. It seems like, which may also mean a lot of variety to the gameplay as well, and the levels and such. So we don't know. I think Donkey Kong Bonanza is just a bigger mystery, if that makes any sense. In a way, more of a mystery than Metroid Prime 4, because we at least know how a Metroid Prime game is going to go, right? Donkey Kong Bonanza is completely new territory.
Unknowns.
Exactly. So that's the thing about Bonanza compared to the other two. Like, we kind of have an idea what those other two will be. We don't for Bonanza.
Yeah, it is odd because they have shown a lot of the game, but most of what they've shown is like very, very early on, where it's like a lot of tutorials and stuff like that. They didn't really show stuff that was much further in the game, at least from what I saw. They didn't show any like further segments, mostly just the intro and a little bit beyond that. So I think they did warp to one area that was a little bit farther, but they didn't really show too much of that from what I saw. So I think there's still a lot to show this game, but I know I'm going to love this game. I just know I'm going to love this game. As far as its chances of winning the TGAs, I feel like Prime 4 has a much better chance because it's that kind of... this seems like it's going to have story and lore, but not in the kind of ways that the TGA kind of appreciates as much. I think Prime 4 is going to have a much more traditionally really, really good, very, very cinematic story to it, whereas Donkey Kong's going to be more in the lore and more of maybe like a Mario Odyssey style story, maybe a little bit more in depth, probably not too much more in depth than that though. So I'm thinking, because of the type of game Prime 4 is, with that super cinematic story, the graphics of course are a lot better. It's a shooter. The vibes are a lot more adult, kind of more serious. I think it fits the tone of the TGAs kind of perfectly in a lot of ways. So I don't know that Donkey Kong would really fit the kind of mold the TGAs typically expects for a game of the year. But Astrobot didn't. Astrobot definitely did not fit the kind of mold you would typically see for a TGA game of the year. So maybe they're getting better about that.
We'll see. I mean, also, like, there is a pretty good history of the Game Awards not providing proper attention to things that we think deserve the attention, like Xenoblade, for example. Even at times, Metroid too, like Metroid Prime Remastered did not get any sort of acknowledgement at the Game Awards. People said because it's a remaster, and then there were remakes. But I'm not going to be surprised if Oblivion Remastered is at the Game Awards this year. Just saying. But
I hope
as
that
it should,
win.
just
There's
for the
so many
record,
problems.
right? Like I think Oblivion Remastered is amazing. What?
I think it looks amazing. There's so many performance issues in that version of the game they need to iron out. There's so many problems on literally every platform it's on. It's very frustrating. But the game looks visually incredible. And of course, Oblivion's an amazing game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Anyway, well, I'm trying to think. What else should we touch on before we call it a night tonight?
Maybe we should just go in the chat, see what they have to say.
Well, there is something else I want to touch on.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, there's a couple things. So, but yeah, we are gonna wrap things up soon. So, any final questions or points or chats you want to send my way, at me, super chat me. Now is the time. We're gonna start wrapping things up. So, couple things actually. What should we do first? Well, let's talk a little bit about the potential of Luigi's Mansion 4. So, I think there's a good chance Luigi's Mansion 4 is a surprise title for this year. Next Little Games comes out with a game every 3 years, right? We don't think 3D Mario is coming out this year. Nintendo probably needs at least one more big Switch 2 exclusive. Looking at games that have a lot of sales potential, we already got our Pokemon thing, right? It's not going to be 3D Zelda. It may not be 3D Mario based off what we're thinking. Doesn't seem like it's a time for Smash Bros. Or Animal Crossing either. So really all that's left is Switch Sports, Ring Fit Adventure, or Luigi's Mansion. Next Little Games, this is about time for them to come out with something.
True.
And there are some little things that have been happening with Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD came out last year, which may not seem like much alone, but let's remind ourselves that in 2018, they put out a Luigi's Mansion 1 remake for 3DS, and the year after, they put out Luigi's Mansion 3 for Switch. So it might be the case that they're putting out Luigi's Mansion 2 for two reasons. One, to build up a little bit of momentum, get us excited for Luigi's Mansion, remind the world about it, but also two, give fans who are not ready to move on something to play on Switch 1 while we enjoy Luigi's Mansion 4. Also, interestingly, Luigi's Mansion is one of the first titles that is going to be added to GameCube for Nintendo Switch Online. So we could be entering a world where through backwards compatibility, we'll have Luigi's Mansion 3 and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD and Luigi's Mansion 1 through the GameCube NSO app, all on Switch 2 before a release of Luigi's Mansion 4, possibly by this October.
Bro.
Which would be epic.
Dude, I don't think there's any game, like excluding 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, and like whatever Monolith Soft has cooking, I would say Luigi's Mansion 4 is like one of my most anticipated titles. I love Luigi's Mansion 3. The gameplay was amazing, the graphics were amazing, the sound of it was amazing. Like everything about that game was incredible. It was one of my favorite games on Switch, top 5 for sure. So yeah, this is one of my most anticipated games on Switch 2 whenever it does release. And if it could release this year, boy, I would be thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But I had an idea for it, right? So one, 4K 60 FPS. If they can do it for Metroid Prime 4, I feel like smaller scale, even smaller scale than Metroid, seems pretty doable. If not 4K, if at least 1440p 60, I feel like that's got to be pretty achievable for the game. I mean, hey, maybe there could even maybe be a 120 FPS mode. Not that I think that's needed.
I think it would depend on how far they want to push the physics in this game. If they're more CPU limited, they may not be able to go for 120 FPS mode. I would be curious if they actually did target 30 FPS again.
I don't think
they will. Really hard.
I don't think they will.
I mean, there's definitely going to be Switch 2 games that target 30 FPS. I think that's inevitable.
Nintendo games?
Sure, why not?
Because none so far. except for Age of Imprisonment, which isn't being made by Nintendo. Literally all the other games are 60 FPS or higher.
Yeah. I don't think Nintendo's really tapped into the potential of the system that far, though, yet. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that they're still using tech that's mainly derived from the Switch, and they're just kind of pushing that as far as it can go, relatively. So I think they're still in the lighter stages of what they want to do with the system. I do think there's going to be games eventually that they're going to want to push farther than what the Switch 2 can do at 60 FPS. I mean, that's always been the case every single generation. I don't think
we'll
it's
see what
going
they
to
do.
change.
We'll see. But I also just think when you have a 120 FPS mode, like, I feel like it's going to be more of a question of, is it 60 or 120, not 30 or 60. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong that there won't be 30 FPS games. I feel like there will be, but I kind of think that for the most part, most Nintendo games are
Right.
going to be running at 60.
I also think there may be games that have 30 FPS and 60 FPS modes, so there's still a 60 FPS option. But I do think there's going to be the case where it's like, yeah, it targets 60 FPS, but it doesn't really get a locked 60 FPS, and the resolution isn't very good, and the settings have to be lowered, and the 30 FPS mode is more the main way of playing. But it does also offer 60 FPS if you really want that. I definitely think there's going to be experiences like that. I mean, we've 60 FPS is just a target. If they wanted to, they could have targeted every game on Switch to be 60 FPS and just not made games that they couldn't run at 60. I mean, we've had 60 FPS games since the NES, right? Like it's just a design target. So I do think there will be games that they want to design that will be outside of the possibility for a very
Depends on
good
the vision.
60 FPS mode. Yeah, I think there'll be some people who have visions that exceed that. I'd be kind of surprised if Monolith Soft, for example, targets 60 FPS because I think their games work just fine at 30 and they can really push things out much farther that way.
I think that depends on what they do. Because what if they go for a more real-time combat system where 60 FPS feels a lot better?
Sure, if they do that, then definitely.
I mean, either way,
I want every game to be 60 FPS if possible. I'm just saying, we've even on PS5 Series X, even though most games have 60 FPS version or mode, not everyone does, and some of the 60 FPS modes are like 720p even on those consoles.
So let me point something out to you, Brandon. I don't know if you'll find this interesting. So I noticed this recently in the least watched Nintendo Treehouse, for Mario Kart World. They talk about game chat, right? But in the beginning, they have two switches on screen, and each switch has 2-player split screen going on. And they're waiting to start a versus race, but they're in the free roam. They confirm that they're in a version of free roam, and in the split screen in free roam, the games are still running at 60 FPS, which I thought was pretty cool. So that means you can play in split screen 2 people and run around the entire open world.
Sure.
I think that's pretty cool. And so, being able to do split screen 60 FPS, I think is a nice thing to do. And it's not like the environment of Mario Kart World is like super simplistic. It's a pretty, vast, detailed world. So I actually theorized that maybe they could really improve cooperative play in Luigi's Mansion 4. So, and this is one of the reasons why I'm going the 60 FPS direction, because I'm imagining a scenario where they actually bring the camera closer and they go for an over-the-shoulder approach. So, like Resident Evil, where you're still in third person, right? You can still move around to see the entire environment, but it's less about the camera being pulled way out and you just see the whole box. But it's over the shoulder where it's a lot closer, and you can see a lot more details that way, right? A little bit more personal, but also aiming is going to be a bit more significant because you already aim around in Luigi's Mansion, but it's kind of slow and awkward.
Sure.
If they were to integrate mouse controls, they can make it super snappy, super fast and precise over the shoulder, and it could be a lot more in your face, right, over the shoulder mode. And they could even do this split screen cooperative play. And of course, online would be an option as well. Now that the game chat is a thing on Switch 2. I imagine Nintendo's not going to like they're going to more often have more significant online options. You know, like
Sure.
had Luigi's Mansion 3 been made for Switch 2, I would have assumed that Luigi mode or co-op mode would have been online also, right? But on Switch 1, that wasn't really as much of a focus. So I think there's a decent possibility we could have a cooperative mode that is literally two characters moving in different rooms. So there could be puzzles that require you being in two different rooms at once. So they could be more elaborate, more intricate, interesting puzzles. So that's kind of like my thinking on what they could do for Luigi's Mansion 4. Over the shoulder, higher frame rate, split screen cooperative play. It would, and obviously a higher resolution. Like, so the games, it's a lot more up close, a lot more detailed. But the aiming is smoother, faster. I think it would be really cool.
I'm not sure how I feel about an over-the-shoulder Luigi's Mansion, because I think it would be cool if they wanted, but I think it would take them in a different direction. It probably more action horror focus if they did that. I don't think it would lend itself to the type of gameplay they typically have. I think it would actually be worse for that type of gameplay specifically. I think the top-down camera, or the what do they call it?
Isometric.
I forget. Isometric, yeah, that kind of camera. I think that works really, really well for Luigi's Mansion. So I think if they wanted to take in a different direction, they could do over the shoulder, but it's not really what I want.
Hear me out.
But
though.
if I would have, if I
element.
saw it, maybe it would intrigue me. But I kind of don't want them to go away from what they did.
HD Rumble.
HD Rumble 2, I'm very excited for. I'm curious.
The tactile feedback, right? Like, and if you have like 3D audio, right, you can hear things, you can feel things. So like you're kind of talking about, oh, there could be like, if from an isometric view, you have a full view of that room, so it's more easy to spot clues. But if there's like a ghost hiding, and you're playing an over the shoulder perspective, right, and maybe you can't see it because you can't see the whole room. That it does take it into a little bit of a different direction, just to make it a little bit more tense. Like if you hear like a ghost, like not Google, a giggle, right, like right behind you, right, or you feel like, you feel that rumble of like the floor creaking, right? They use that HD Rumble 2 to kind of give you that sensation in a particular direction, and so they can use more tactile and auditory cues to have you looking around left and right a little bit more around the room. So yeah, it would be a different feel. But I don't think it would necessarily take away from the essence of what Luigi's Mansion is. I understand, like, it would be a shift for sure, but I guess we got to ask ourselves, like, what is the core Luigi's Mansion gameplay? Is the core element of Luigi's Mansion gameplay the isometric camera perspective, or is it more so about exploring these rooms with a high level of interactivity and trying to figure out the puzzles of these rooms by doing so?
Sure. I just think that kind of might work better with the isometric, but I mean, it's not first person.
Hey man, it's just my idea. I'm not the developer, so I could be wrong.
I think maybe I could see a version of this, and if I saw it, running, maybe I would think differently. I'm just kind of hesitant to say that I want them to change the formula too much, because I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is such a perfect game for the most part that I'm just like, make that again.
You play Luigi's Mansion 3 again.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just don't want anything too radically different. I want them to evolve what they did in 3 rather than make a whole revolution, a whole new thing. I'm fine with them just kind of evolving the current formula.
Okay. Scrolling through the chat, I see here Paladin asks me, if the game goes below 60 FPS, I hope it's a 40 FPS target instead of 30.
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of 40 FPS modes, but you still have to, consider the fact that you need the proper screen to be able to run at 40 FPS, right? You need a 120 hertz screen with VRR for that to work properly for the most part. So you're likely going to need either 120 hertz TV, which are very, very new, or you're going to need some kind of monitor to be able to do that, which has So it's definitely going to be more of, I wouldn't say niche, but it's going to be more of an exclusionary thing. Like, there's going to be a ton of people who can't use the 40 FPS mode, so they still need to, have good options for those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I would probably say that most people who are the kind of people who would buy a Switch don't have a screen that would support that, actually.
Yeah. That is a good point. 'Cause not 40 FPS, while it sounds great, it's not going to work for a lot of people outside of the Switch 2 screen. Most people won't be able to do that. So that is something to take into consideration. Just trying to find the chat. Redcap added me earlier. Earlier you said Prime 4 could win best score, but of the Nintendo games I say Mario Kart World. The music we've heard so far is amazing. There seem to be dozens of songs in free roam and enter tracks. So an interesting point. Like I haven't heard that much music or noticed it, I should say, because I've seen a lot of gameplay.
Yeah.
That hasn't stood out too much to me. But if there's a lot of different cool songs in Mario Kart World, I mean, maybe. But I'll also say the tracks I've heard in Prime 4 have stood out more to me than what we've seen in Mario Kart World. And we've seen a lot more of Mario Kart World than we've seen of Prime 4. But I've also not noticed the music that much because of the environments that it's been in. When I actually get my hands on the game, I may feel very similar to you, and there's just going to be a lot of really cool, awesome tracks. I mean, I've actually liked the music in Mario Kart World. The more I think about it, like in the trailers and stuff, like it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
I also think it's like a lot of the songs I would presume are remixed songs of like older songs, not like entirely new arrangements for most of the pieces, I would imagine. So there's going to be a lot of reused but remixed tracks, which may keep it from winning that category.
Yeah. Looking at some questions from Connor. If we do get a direct for Kirby Air Riders, what are your predictions for the roster? Because I feel like Sakurai could have the same roster from Air Ride, but with no modern characters. I
don't know enough Kirby characters to just really weigh in on this, to be honest.
I mean, all I'm going to say on it is that I kind of assume that we're going to have pretty much the roster from Air Riders, and that they will incorporate a lot of new characters throughout the Kirby series since then. That's kind of my thinking on that.
I think we're gonna have Kirby and Bandana Waddle Dee. Bandana Waddle Dee.
Sure. That could be.
I mean, those two are given. I just who else is in Kirby? Huh?
Whole bunch.
Give me the one of the enemies in Forgotten Land, the Animal Pack or something. What are they called?
I don't remember. But like, there's like you like find the Animal Kingdom, like the lion boss and stuff.
Yeah, Picorilla Man's first one.
Oh, that would be crazy.
One.
That'd be crazy. Chris Lanzer, when do you think the next Zelda game will come out? Not counting Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is coming this winter, which is a Zelda spinoff. I think we're going to get a big Zelda remake next holiday. So holiday 2026. Let's say somewhere between that September to November period, 2026. Sure. That's what I think.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Ashley 1963. Why you rarely talk about Age of Imprisonment? Because I don't have.
Because we don't care about it that much, to be honest.
I have talked about Age of Imprisonment. To be clear, I've talked about it a few times. It's not something I feel like making an entire dedicated video on. I might still make. There might still eventually be like there might. I mean, maybe. I don't want to say never. But like I've made a few Zelda videos, and Age of Imprisonment is a segment. It's been a segment in a couple of videos, and we've talked about it on the live stream a couple of times. So it hasn't like I have talked about it, but there's just not enough for me to say that I think has warranted an entire video up to this point so far. basically my thought process in Age of Imprisonment is, from a lore perspective, like, it's going to be neat to enjoy the past through Zelda's perspective. Like, we kind of wanted that.
Sure.
I am disappointed the game's only running at 30 frames per second. I feel like that game should be 60. Maybe they'll change that by the time it comes out, but the footage they've shown is a 30 FPS game.
Yeah.
Looks a little
And
rough, in my opinion.
It's like 720p 30 too. It's like really, really.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it looks like
why?
a Switch game.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
The amount of aliasing of that grass is just rough. It's like,
yeah,
oof.
like it looks good
Pixels.
for a Switch 1 game. It does not look good for a Switch 2 game.
No.
But I'm probably still going to buy it and play it and enjoy it. I have speculated that from a lore perspective, they could tell us a little bit more about Rauru and the Sages, which could perhaps help to better connect Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to the lore and history surrounding Ocarina of Time, as maybe we approach an Ocarina of Time remake.
And that would be
when
very
it comes out for the
interesting.
40th anniversary.
But it's like, is it interesting
Yeah.
enough for me to buy the whole game? Because for me, it's like I enjoy Zelda lore, but more specifically, I enjoy Zelda lore in the context of the Zelda game. I don't want to play another game that I don't really like that much just to get the Zelda lore that arguably should have been in the game that I already bought and paid and actually did enjoy, Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, so
It's
like
like,
I was very excited for Age of Calamity. Like I when that was announced, that was a big deal. But part of the reason I was so excited about Age of Calamity was because we had the looming Tears of the Kingdom, right? Like, so it felt like Age of Calamity would offer us clues to connect Breath and Tears. And in hindsight, it actually kind of did. Will Age of Imprisonment do that for our theorized Ocarina of Time remake? I hope, but I am not as convinced, especially because we don't even know if there will. Like, I believe there will be an Ocarina of Time remake, but it's not like an announced, confirmed thing, right? We knew that there was going to, like, the Nintendo already announced the sequel to Breath of the Wild,
right.
So it's just a little bit of a different scenario.
For sure.
That said, I'm probably still going to play the game and enjoy it. There just hasn't been as much for me to say on it, really.
I might buy it. I haven't bought any of the other Warriors games because they just didn't. I don't know. They didn't look like they were that interesting to me. But this is kind of maybe the one I'll pick up. Maybe I'll try it. And I probably not, though. To be honest, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. So one more topic, Brandon. So
Sure.
We have heard from Nash Weedle, another rumor, who he keeps getting things right. He leaked Assassin's Creed Shadows for Switch 2, Tarnished Edition for Switch 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza for Switch 2, Prime
Shadows
for...
was officially announced?
We've seen a rating for it. Like, it's...
Oh, okay.
We know it's coming for Switch 2. It's been leaked. But point is, like, Nash Weedle keeps getting leaks correct, right?
Sure.
And recently he has said that that Microsoft isn't making any Switch 2 exclusives, but they are currently working on a couple games that are going to be geared towards Nintendo owners, if that makes sense. So they'll still come. The games will still come to Xbox, but they're also going to come to Switch 2, and they're being made with Switch 2 in mind, or Nintendo fans in mind. And so one's already in development, another one's is in like pre-production. And so I kind of theorized on what these games might be. And what's interesting is that actually a little while back, Nate the Hate said that a Banjo-Kazooie project is in the works by Microsoft Game Studios, which, by the way, is who Nash Weedle was referring to in terms of like what they're working on, right? So Xbox Game Studios is working on a few projects that they have Switch 2 in mind for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Banjo-Kazooie is kind of like, it just makes a lot of sense for a few reasons. Like, you have this IP, right? So they've tried going back to Banjo before, but in the past they didn't put on a Nintendo platform. If they are making this game and they plan to release it day and date on Xbox and Nintendo Switch 2 at the same time, well, first off, that's a lot more opportunity to see sales, right? Because it's more than one platform, right? Maybe even it comes out on PlayStation as well, but they know where it's going to sell the most. and it's going to be on Switch too, because Banjo used to be part of Nintendo.
Mhm.
So they make a
Just
quality
more
platformer,
coded towards the Nintendo audience for sure.
right? So that to me, like I just think that's probably what it is. However, there's another game that's in pre-production. That is more of a toss-up. You can definitely debate some things there.
Mm-hmm.
There was, however, Kev Bayless, who is apparently the creator of Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong Country, right? So him. So he used to work for Rare. He put out a wink emoji when someone was talking about them really wanting to see a Diddy Kong Racing sequel someday. So he kind of winked at that idea. Now he works at Playtonic Games. He does not work with Nintendo. He does not work with Rare currently. So it might mean nothing at all. It could be a ukulele cart, right?
Yeah. Kind of sounds like what it might be more of.
Yeah, it might not be
anything.
connected. But I will also say this. Microsoft did allow Rare to develop a Nintendo-published game of Diddy Kong Racing DS, right? So we have seen some weird, like, collaborative efforts in the past before. So yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't want to completely write off the idea of a Diddy Kong Racing sequel eventually, right? And maybe
I know what
Kev
it's gonna
Bayless
be.
has heard about it or has a hand in it. It's possible, I think, but I think more likely, if anything, he's hinting at a spiritual successor to it in a ukulele cart.
No, he's clearly referring to Conker's Bad Fur Day 2. That's what's gonna come out, guys.
Oh man, yeah, why not?
Conker's Badder Fur Day. Conker's really bad fur day.
Wasn't there technically a sequel, like Live and Reloaded?
I don't know.
On Xbox, Conker's.
It sounds like something that existed.
Yeah, Conker Live and Reloaded. It came out for Xbox in 2005.
Well, then Conker 3, baby.
I don't know if it's considered a sequel. Oh, apparently it's a remake, according to Wikipedia.
Oh.
Conker Live and Reloaded is a 2005 platform game developed by Rare and published by Microsoft Game Studios for the Xbox. It is a remake of the 2001 game Conker's Bad Fur Day for N64 with a new multiplayer mode using Xbox Live that is different from the original. Interesting.
That makes sense. Live and Reloaded makes a lot of sense then.
So I guess it's not a sequel then, though.
No, so Conker's Bad Fur Day 2.
But maybe is there maybe like a sequel on Game Boy or something? Because they were I don't know, possibly canceled. I don't know. I'm like trying to see if there's something. Oh, actually, so apparently, after Conker's Bad Fur Day, Rare began development of a direct sequel referred to as Conker's Other Bad Day. However, Rare was purchased by Microsoft, who told them they were not interested in such a project. They did make the remake Live and Reloaded, though. Apparently, after Live and Reloaded, Rare began work on another game in the Conker universe titled Conker Geddon Medieval. The game was to be multiplayer focused and did not feature Conker as the main character, with Rare instead hoping to focus on other characters in the series, but the game was ultimately canceled. Conker returned in a new episodic campaign for the sandbox game Project Spark. Project Spark? I've never even heard of that.
Nope.
Anyway, basically, the answer is no. There is not a Conker sequel, technically.
Not yet.
Not yet. Anyway, what do we think this game Brandon, do you agree that the game that is in development by Xbox Game Studios, it's being geared towards Nintendo, if you even believe the rumor, would be Banjo-Kazooie remake, as also rumored by Nate the H? These rumors seem to be aligning, or is there maybe something else?
I can't really think of anything else. Banjo's kind of the obvious one, but maybe it's a bit too obvious. But I'm also like, I don't know. There have been games in the past that I think would have done well on Nintendo, like Sea of Thieves. So it could be that Rare's working on its own like new project. And they're kind of keeping Switch 2 in mind as like the min spec, and they're building the game around that and scaling it up on other platforms. And maybe it's not an existing IP, maybe it's a new IP, like Sea of Thieves was a new IP from Rare. So I could
Maybe.
see that. Banjo is definitely the obvious contender and the one I want the most. But I want to keep in mind there's a lot of different options here. And they've had different games, not necessarily from Microsoft in general, but third parties do often use Switch, the current Switch, as like their minimum spec. There's been a couple different games that have done that. I believe Prince of Persia did that. I believe the 2D ukulele game did that. There's a couple other games that have done that before. So I assume that's kind of what they're doing here, but for a Microsoft title. But it doesn't have to be Banjo, but I really hope that it is.
So
You think a Banjo remake, not a Banjo 3?
I mean, it could be a new Banjo. Yeah, it might be a new one.
I would love a new one.
Yeah. So just to read exactly what he said, I'm reading the translation here. Bombshell, Microsoft no longer thinks only about Xbox. Although they will not be exclusive to Switch 2, they plan to release game targeted at Nintendo users. At the moment, there are one game in development, one game in pre-production. He also followed this up and said, I've seen a lot of comments reflecting on what games could be. Some very logical, others iconic. I've missed some, and also that you open your minds a little bit more. So, I mean, that you can interpret that in a lot of ways. And maybe to your point, they are making a game that they know will certainly that it is targeted at Nintendo users. That doesn't mean it's a game. It's an existing IP. It could be a new IP, though.
I mean, if they were doing this back when like Ori and the Will of the Wisps was being made, then I could consider that something that would be a target for Switch.
So maybe a new Ori game.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Could be.
Or just any other type of 2D platformer would probably sell best on a Nintendo system.
And I don't think this would include games like Perfect Dark that we already know. That's already in development, right? It hasn't been announced for Switch 2 yet.
And that one's probably honestly going to be more targeted for Xbox fans than Nintendo fans, I would say.
But I think
I think it appeals to both. But if I'm going to say it's one over the other, I would say probably Xbox.
I had a theory, though, on a game that might work really well.
Okay.
Jet Force Gemini.
Okay.
So think about it. Jet Force Gemini, I think could work really well with the Xbox audience, right? Because it's like a sci-fi shooter, right? But it also has a lot of that personality, and also has the history on Nintendo, right? So I could see them making this game, and in a way, it would be really smart because it would actually kind of be targeting both the Xbox and Nintendo audience, and would have double the opportunity to succeed.
Sure, I think that's a good option.
I also think that now that the Switch 2 has game chat, right? A lot of Xbox games are made with that kind of expectation, online, multiplayer, cooperative play, like those are standards. Sure. Now that the Switch 2 is kind of at that standard now, they can more easily make games targeted at Nintendo users, but of course would also be big releases for the Xbox platform, right? So let's say they are working on a Jet Force Gemini. A modern Jet Force Gemini would probably have online co-op, right? Or some sort of multiplayer feature that would have, voice chat kind of as an expected element, right? Yeah. Now on Switch 2, that wouldn't be an issue. That would just be, that's fine. Game chat. So, I think there's a lot of potential here, and it's very exciting.
Oh yeah, I'd be very curious to see what they're going to pull, but I am hesitant to just be like, it's gonna be Banjo, guys. It's gonna be Banjo, because there's so many other options.
So for me, I'm convinced it is Banjo, because it's not one rumor, it's two from two. Like, it's Nate the Hate who has said Banjo-Kazooie is in development and has been saying that for a while. And now we have this Nash Weedle thing saying that Xbox Game Studios is working on something targeted towards Nintendo users. So I mean, I just don't see a world where Xbox Game Studios makes a Banjo-Kazooie game and it doesn't come to Switch 2.
Sure. I think that if they're going to make a Banjo-Kazooie game, then they would definitely also come to Switch 2. I'm just, man, I
mean,
don't
it
want
could
to
be,
predict.
it could still be separate, right? And also the Banjo-Kazooie thing's been a thing we've known about for a few years already, and we haven't heard about it. So maybe it's like in development hell, or it's been canceled, and so maybe Nash is referring to something else. But I just kind of think these things take a while. So
Sure.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only reason why I think we haven't heard much of it, just because it takes a while. So we'll see.
I would really hope for Banjo. I don't want to be too confident about it. I don't want to get burned.
Bro, but what if we're in a world where we get Donkey Kong Bonanza, then a new 3D Mario, then a new Banjo-Kazooie, like
the golden years,
right?
Platformers,
Diddy Kong Race, a new Diddy Kong Racing, like that would just be the Diddy Kong Racing is probably the ultimate hopium copium, but yeah, it'd be crazy.
Sure.
I'm just happy we're gonna have GameCube NSO, dude. Like it dawned on me today. It's like, hey, I'm gonna be able to play Luigi's Mansion again.
Yeah,
like that's gonna be fun. Sam Talks Games, been a member for 27 months. Glad to have you around all this time, buddy. Hey man, school is almost out for me, which means night classes, so I'll be able to make it to more streams. My Switch 2 hype is off the charts. Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yep, we're getting so close. We are so close. Netweed09. Oh, Andre's Restart. Didn't they literally drop a GoldenEye sequel? There was something about 007 in the Switch 2 Direct, right?
Well, they're making a new 007 game, but I don't think it's a sequel to GoldenEye in any way.
It's a 007 project.
And yes, it did get announced for Switch 2, but they've not shown any footage of it.
My brain kind of shut off during this segment. But let me listen to what they said. I have the clip here.
I don't think it was anything profound.
Plus, we are excited to bring another familiar agent to the platform.
Oh, they have the poor audio thinking.
Yeah.
This is the IGN clip, so they just probably clipped it from the live stream.
Yep.
In a rush. Instead of doing a good job.
Can I at least pull it from the European one? Jeez.
Project 007.
James Bond.
Groggy.
World Stage 5 is coming to
Oh, that's
Nintendo Switch
Australian.
2, so stay tuned.
Wild. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
I think they actually did it at one point though, make a GoldenEye, like another GoldenEye game.
There was a GoldenEye remake.
Yeah.
It came out for Wii. It was good. Yeah, it was GoldenEye in 2010.
I think they were working on another more advanced remake of it as well for like 360 or an Xbox One maybe, but I think it got canceled.
Yeah. I'm not sure. So what should I Google? Canceled GoldenEye game?
Sure.
Canceled gold gym membership. So there was a Xbox 360 remaster of GoldenEye that was canceled apparently.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Well, anyway. Wait, what? Oh, so there's an IGN article here. GoldenEye 007 remaster was canceled by Nintendo with only a few bugs left to fix.
I did hear that the game was like basically done.
Interesting. So this would be a remastering of the original one from N64 then, I guess?
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm confused, but oh well.
No, I believe you're correct. It was a remaster of the original N64 game, but for 360.
Yeah,
It was more of a
Anyway.
visual remake, I believe.
it's a remaster.
Yeah.
That's what a remaster is nowadays, basically.
Sure.
Yeah. Wilberforce Wooster, only 1,600 to 50K. We are close. Yeah, 1.6 ish away, I think. Something like that.
Hell yeah. Hit that subscribe button, that like button, that share
Yeah.
button.
Yeah. And
All
maybe
the
watch my
buttons.
Luigi's Mansion video. Apparently it's bombing hard.
Ring the bell icon.
But tomorrow's a new day. Yeah. Cat Dad asked me and Brandon, work tonight, so I couldn't make the stream. Glad I caught it for the tail end. What are you guys' thoughts on the GTA delay? Fingers crossed for a Switch 2 version. Well, I mean, that's more time for a Switch 2 version to be worked on. So there's that. We kind of talked about earlier, like it opens the door for other games to win Game of the Year. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I am going to just say I don't think, even with the delay, that Switch 2 is going to get a day-and-date version with this game. I mean, clearly they need more time to work on the versions they're already making because they delayed them. So I don't think the delay necessarily means they have all this extra time to work on the Switch 2 version. It just means that they didn't actually have time to finish the versions they were already working on. Which honestly probably, bless you. If anything, I think it delays the Switch 2 version and the PC version because they're still having to work on the main versions of the consoles they're already working on. I suspect this game will come out
Makes sense.
with alongside the PC version. That will be like the second, jump for the game, second, set of sales, and that's when the Switch 2 will get its version alongside PC. Because for PC, they'll already have to make a bunch of different versions of the game. I mean, even for Series S, they already have to do this, but for PC as well, all the low settings and stuff, all the optimizations they have to make, they can use that to help with the Switch 2 version as well. But I wouldn't expect day and date. And maybe it comes out a little bit earlier than the PC version, maybe, if we're lucky. But I kind of have a feeling they'll just release the PC version and the Switch 2 version at around the same time and just have a second big push for the game. Then.
Hey, man, at least you think there's going to be a Switch 2 version.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's possible. I mean, I don't see why not. If it runs on Series S, I don't think the Switch 2 is miles away from that kind of power. So it should be able to run with, lowered settings or whatever.
Makes sense. Yeah, should be doable. So if there's sales to be made, they should probably do it. Anyways, thank you, Having Hope and Connor, for the blessings. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, let's call it a night. I think cool. We've touched on enough subjects for the evening. Thank you all, everyone, for tuning in. Who knows? I'll probably be a lot closer to that 50K goal by next week. So
hell yeah,
we'll see. Less than 2,000 away, so we're on pace.
Go tell your friends, subscribe,
or maybe watch that Luigi's Mansion video that's bombing. That'd be nice.
That too.
All right.
Share it with your friends and your social medias.
I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.
Peace.